You know what? Let's go ahead and get started. First, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Washeen Williams, Brand Strategy Manager here at Fairy Godboss. If you don't know, Fairy Godboss is the largest career community for women. Our mission is to help women to achieve their career goals. We offer a variety of free resources like anonymous company reviews, career advice articles, virtual recruiting events, and more to help you succeed throughout your career. And we are thrilled, absolutely thrilled, to have you all join us for today's event entitled Be Undeniably Bold, How to Grow Your Career by Embracing Risk. And I know all about being bold as I'm coming in a white suit, guys. So I definitely wanted to first off just have a couple of housekeeping items put out there for you. Number one, today's event will be recorded and shared via email afterwards. Two, during the discussion, please use the chat functionality to send messages and comments, as you guys are already doing. And three, we will leave 10 minutes at the end of today's event for any questions from the audience. So if you have any questions for our panelists at any point, feel free to drop them in the Q&A, and you're welcome to ask questions anonymously as well. And now, I am excited to kick off today's event. Again, Be Undeniably Bold, How to Grow Your Career by Embracing Risk, presented by West Monroe. We're absolutely ecstatic to be joined by four incredible leaders from West Monroe today. So thank you so much to Carol, Mary, Bethany, and Julie for joining us today. And let's go ahead and jump right into it. First off, please introduce yourselves and tell us what you do at West Monroe.
Yeah, I can go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
My name's Bethany Ziegler. I'm a principal in our customer solutions practice, and I specialize in Salesforce and Encino implementations. I've been with West Monroe for just over 7 years now, and I'm out of our Seattle office.
I can go. My name is Mary Bryan. I'm a manager in our technology practice out of Chicago. Started my career off as a developer and slowly transformed into the manager role. So I've been at West Monroe my whole career. I actually interned there, and I'm excited to be here.
Fantastic.
I can go next. My name is Carol. I'm a senior manager within the technology and data practice at West Monroe. I've been at West Monroe my whole career as well. I started about 7 years ago and have been working on a variety of data projects since.
Fantastic.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. Julie Prizer, based out of the New York office in M&A. I've been with the firm for 4 years. I actually began my career in the retail industry on the corporate side, and then I was in our OpEx practice, and now I'm part of our M&A team.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, ladies. I wanted to just jump right on into it, get to the nitty gritty of it, and ask, what has your career path looked like? And I was hoping Julie could kick us off.
Thank you. So as I mentioned, I began my career in the retail industry and working in supply chain, and I knew that I wanted to be in something a little bit more industry agnostic. And I also knew that I wanted to be in a client-facing position. So that's how I found consulting, and I did a ton of research when I was looking at consulting firms, and I was really impressed by what I found out about West Monroe. And when I went through the interview process, it turned out to all be true, what I had read, and since I've been here, it's kind of remained as well. So that's how I got from working in retail to working in M&A.
Fantastic. Carol, do you have any input here?
Yeah, so I mentioned I started at West Monroe. My degree is from Northern Illinois University in operations management information systems. So I joined West Monroe because I wanted to work with clients to help them solve their business problems. So I started off as a business analyst and kind of worked my way up to managing people and teams across a variety of data projects and across a variety of industries that West Monroe partners with.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hey, Julie, you had mentioned that what you read kind of aligned with what's going on at the interview. I wanted to see if you could elaborate a little bit on that as far as what drew you to West Monroe. And again, just if you could recap how long you've been there as well.
Yeah, so I've been with the firm just over 4 years, and I was really looking for a strong corporate culture. At my previous employer, I was constantly trying to raise my hand to get involved in different types of activities, whether it was women's leadership or recruiting or whatever the case may be. And there weren't as many opportunities. So I was really looking for that in a firm. And when I applied to West Monroe, I saw that there was a ton of information on the internet about certain awards we've won and the culture, and lots of actually fun videos if you want to check them out. And then when I got to the firm, I thought there's no way that this could all be true, but I've really found that it truly is. And the strong culture has remained even as we've grown in, almost double the size since I've been at the firm, which is really cool to see.
That's amazing. Hey, Bethany, do you have any input here?
Yeah, definitely. So what really drew me to West Monroe was the diverse project work, as well as just the amazing people. So what I find from West Monroe that's really unique is being able to, just grab a coffee with people on the executive team when you're in the office. I think it's really unique. You have access to their calendar. They really welcome, being able to just have one-on-one conversations. And they're really invested in your career growth overall. And so that combination with being able to do different projects really resonated with me. I love, I was a campus hire. So coming from, we did a quarterly system at my school, and being able to switch it up in terms of, if you have one client, you might love them or not, and being able to kind of shift projects was something that I really enjoy.
Fantastic. Great. Okay. So I have a good question here. What skills do you believe have helped you most throughout your career? I'd like you to go again, Beth.
Yeah, sure thing. So I think learning how to lead with empathy and kindness is something that I found to be really important. Just to motivate your team is a huge component of it. And then the other piece is having an innovative mindset. So approaching all problems with an open and creative mind is a game changer for not only you and your team, but for your clients as well. And to kind of have it be a creative outlet to critically think, I think is a couple of things that really resonated with me.
Absolutely, I agree. Mary, any insight here?
Yeah, well, Bethany, I love your answer around leading with empathy. That's something that I preach nonstop. But, just thinking about it from my perspective of, being kind of a heads down developer starting my career, one thing that personally really helped me kind of set myself apart was my communication skills. I'm a pretty outgoing person. And so, being at the computer all day wasn't the best for me. And as I started to ask for more opportunities and working directly with clients, I really came out of my shell, and I was provided a lot of opportunities like leading status meetings, like right out of college, things like that. I think really set me apart from, some other people that I had been working with. So I would just encourage everyone to always work on, your communication skills, and your ability to connect with others and develop that relationship goes a longer way than most people realize.
I could not agree more. That's literally a part of my philosophies as well. Mary, while I have you, I was also curious, what was the biggest challenge in your career, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, so this goes a lot back to the empathy piece that Bethany talked about. So I'm a young mom. I have 3 kids, and one of the most challenging times of my life, and certainly my career, was, balancing home life and my personal life with my work, and how was I gonna kind of figure that out and be a good mom, and also, make sure I'm successful in my own career. So what really helped me behind that was working with empathetic leaders, asking for help, and not being ashamed by that, and asking for whatever it is that I might need. And then really just being my authentic self, setting boundaries with my coworkers, and not answering a call if it's at 5:30 and not feeling guilty about that. So I think all of those things were something I really struggled with, and to be honest, still do for sure. But the more practice you have in setting boundaries and the more confidence you have in that, really applies to everyone here. It's not just people with kids. It could be anyone that, might want to spend time with their friends or, a significant other or partner, whoever it is. So.
Again, I could not agree more. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Cool. Okay. So the next question I actually had was more so, what's a risk that you've taken in your career and how did it reward you? And I was hoping Bethany could kick us off with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first started at West Monroe, I was working on a project and I had an opportunity to step in as a workstream lead. And this was really only my second year into my job. So I was a very new opportunity and something that I just kind of grabbed by the horns. And ultimately, I think I learned so much in a span of like 1 year, being kind of putting yourself out there and taking a risk of, I was like, I don't have all the answers, but I will figure it out and do my absolute best. And I think ultimately, you learn a lot faster by leveraging that and taking risks. So ultimately, the reward out of that for me was, I put in a lot of hours, but I got, a fast track promotion coming out of that because I was willing to step up and kind of take on that leadership role, even though I didn't necessarily have all the answers at the beginning. But yeah.
I love it. I love it. Carol, any insight you want to chime in with?
Yeah, so last year I got asked so I mentioned my backgrounds in data and more specifically like building data platforms and reporting and such. Last year I got asked to help with a diligence and then acquisition of a new company. So I kind of got pulled off of my regular day-to-day and the type of clients I previously served and worked on that acquisition project and then the integration of that new team, which has definitely been challenging and has really kind of forced me to learn several new skills, both kind of from the technical side, as the work that we're doing is more of a data science focus, and then also from the team leadership style, and from just really integrating a company within another company is not a simple task. So it's really been a stretch for me, and I think it's definitely been hard at times, but I think it's also been really rewarding because I've gotten a lot of great experience out of that. And something I've told myself is, I could always go back to what I was doing before, but there's only so many opportunities you're going to get to be part of something like that. And so I kind of pushed myself to take on that opportunity. And I'm still working through it, but it's been good so far.
Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So to switch gears just a little bit, I noticed that many women in the workforce, they struggle with some degree of, let's call it imposterism. Have you ever struggled as far as asking for more in your career, as far as like a promotion, etc.? And if so, how did you overcome it? How about you, Bethany?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I would say it's still something that I struggle with. I haven't necessarily mastered it. But I think at the end of the day, through my career journey, as I mentioned, I did kind of have a quick promotion track. So there was a lot of, I felt like there were eyes on me of like, well, can she actually do it? Like, is she everything that people say? And so what really helped me was just letting go of this idea of perfection and just knowing that like at the end of the day, you got this as long as you are really staying, mentally engaged and willing to be a team player. I think that can really go a long way. And also understanding that, people are going to have their judgments. I've been told by a client, we'd love to have a little bit more gray hair in the room or things of that nature. And I think if you are able to come to that conversation with like an attitude of, I might not know everything, but I'm going to figure it out for you. And I think having that mindset is really good.
Absolutely. That resonates with me as well. I kind of got a little chills hearing your answer there. Hey, Carol, what advice do you have for women who struggle to find their individual leadership style? Like, how did you find yours? And what advice do you have for women, once again, who are kind of struggling to find theirs?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can definitely be challenging as you move from being someone who's an individual contributor to kind of leading people and teams. One thing I would say is just to get perspective from multiple people. If you've only been working with one boss, it can be really hard because you've only got one example. So as much as you can, try to gain advice from others within your network, even if you're not directly working with them, because I think that really helped me to see multiple different people and how they led teams and really pick different pieces to make as part of my own style, and collecting feedback from those who work with me and for me, I think is really important as well, because that helps me to grow, to get that constructive feedback. And also just at the end of the day, knowing that maybe you can't, even though something that I really struggled with, I guess, was that as I became a leader and leading teams, I no longer could really touch every piece of everything that was going on. So learning how to delegate and provide the right trust and guidance to my team so that they could perform and I could feel confident in the work that we were delivering, that it's definitely, a balance and kind of working with each person to figure out how that works best with them was something that I did.
Absolutely. So hey, let's go with Mary. As a leader, how would you specifically, support those coming up behind you as far as trying to find their own leadership pursuits? What would you have to say for them?
Yeah, I think, just from a general kind of mentorship perspective, the approach I've always taken is try to be their friend first and their coworker second. You never know what someone's going through in their walk of life. And we're so much more as people than our 9-to-5 day job. So I've always tried to take that approach and just build like a relationship with someone, because as they start to feel more comfortable with you, and then you're able to make a bigger impact on their life, not just through their job, but through their personal life as well. So something that I've always done is taking the time, setting up and kind of owning those relationships for younger leaders, making sure that they know that they can always come to me as an outlet for advice or whatever it might be. And then just having fun. That's to me something too that I think is really important, that we spend so much time of our lives at our job. So let's make it fun and make sure we enjoy it and the people around us as well.
Could not agree more. Great answer. Really, really great answer there. So Julie, what are your top tips for women trying to grow their career in a historically male-dominated industry?
Yeah, so if you think about my background, I've actually had a funny transition where I went from a female-dominated industry to a male-dominated industry and made that transition pretty quickly. So my first piece of advice is don't let, knowing that it's a male-dominated industry deter you, because there is a way to navigate it. And I can elaborate on that more. So I think the first thing is to form a community where possible, and as a community, try to create goals that you want to work towards. So whether it's trying to increase the presence of women or trying to get professional development opportunities for that group of women, try to figure out what your goals are and then develop a plan on how you can work towards that. And as an example, within the M&A practice here at West Monroe, we have an initiative. It's called the Women in M&A Initiative, and we have different pillars of that initiative. One is to increase the recruitment of women. Another is to formulate relationships outside of the firm with organizations, such as with groups like Kaya Women or something like that. So we have found a lot of success in brainstorming together and trying to figure out like, what do we want to accomplish as a group? And that has also led to more women within the M&A practice. So that's great as well. The second piece of advice I would say is to surround yourself with both male and female mentors. I always find that both are a great sounding board. And at West Monroe and just in my life, we have something called a board of directors. And basically it means you have a bunch of people that help you navigate your career path. And I think it's really important to have both women and men and people within your industry, outside your industry, and that so you can bounce ideas off of them. And then also, I think knowing what resources are available within the firm is super important. So whether you're someone like Mary, where you have children and you want to know what resources are available there, or even someone like myself who's really interested in working with outside groups. We have a partnership with a company called Elevate Network, and we have a free membership to that network. And so I've been going to trainings and networking events through them. So knowing what resources you have is really important. And I'm sure that there are more within West Monroe that I don't even know about, but it's always fun when you find out something new and you can kind of take advantage of that.
Absolutely. Thank you for such a thorough answer there. I did just want to let everyone watching know just one more time that if you do have any questions for the Q&A, use the Q&A feature below rather than the chat feature. That way, when we get to the Q&A section, I can just start firing those off. But back to regular scheduled programming. I wanted to go back to Mary and ask, what's the culture like over at West Monroe? And how has it allowed you to accelerate in your career?
Yeah, I mean, the culture is fun and hardworking, and we like to say work hard, play hard, which I think is fun until you have kids and then you're just really tired. But I think, really what it is you can really define your own career, and you can start an initiative and take ownership of anything that you're passionate about. I mean, I know Carol started the whole women's leadership network really literally out of nothing, and now it's a huge ERG for our company, and a lot of people can participate and use their passions outside of something that's just their project. For me personally, I've kind of taken ownership and started a pillar of the Women's Leadership Network, which is around being a consulting parent and how to kind of balance your life. So I think a lot of people, find what it is that they're passionate about and find a way to bring that into West Monroe. And that's really the cool thing about our culture, is that we're welcoming to that, and we don't have to, stick to certain procedures and kind of draw a box around your job. It really can be whatever it is that you want to make it. And you can be as involved or as not involved as you want with kind of the internal initiatives and kind of find your passion that way.
Phenomenal. That is incredible. Thank you so much. So let's shift gears a little bit and just ask what growth opportunities are offered at West Monroe, and how do you capitalize on those opportunities? I was hoping Bethany could kick us off.
Yeah, sure thing. So one of the big things that I really like about West Monroe is we have this concept of a 3-year letter, which really helps me kind of get down on paper where I want to be in 3 years. And it helps you think a little bit more strategically on how you see your career growing and developing over time. And I really use that as a tool then to work with my career advisor and my other mentors to help find those specific opportunities that are going to get me there. So it's almost like a playbook that you can develop for yourself in your career at West Monroe. And so ultimately, through that tool, I've been able to better articulate the types of growth opportunities that I'm looking for. So whether it be, project work specific, where I want to be engaged in larger implementations, or if it's an internal thing where maybe I want to be more involved in business development, I can use that as a tool. And then I can, clearly articulate to other leaders what I'm looking for. So I would say that's a huge component, as well as just the general kind of training that's offered at West Monroe. I think we have specific training requirements that are built into our career model to allow for space and time to grow in different areas that you want to. So it could be, communication, leadership training, or it can be, very specific to projects, kind of wherever your passion lies and what you want to get more involved in. There's kind of the space for that.
Fantastic. Julie, any insight here?
Yeah, actually, some of my thoughts were very similar to what Bethany said. Obviously, as a firm, we mentioned that we believe in career equity and that everyone owns their own career path. And so I've really taken advantage of that. And something that I'm really interested in is business development and working directly with clients. And I've really enjoyed the opportunities that I've been presented to work directly with clients and to be like the main point of contact for them. And I've also really enjoyed being able to represent West Monroe at different networking events and industry conferences. And that's all because I've expressed an interest in this, which West Monroe has kind of made happen. And then of course, obviously like the professional development and all that. And I also think that's something that's really unique about West Monroe is we kind of put you on the job from day one and let you shadow and then figure it out from there. So I know at a junior level, especially a lot of other consulting firms, you're kind of more in the background for your first few years. You're not really client facing, and it's kind of a different setup. And so at West Monroe, what I really like is that, you know, the team works collaboratively, whether it's a consultant level all the way up to the managing director. That's expected of you from day one. So it really like pushes you to develop throughout your career and learn some new things.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of hitting the ground running, so to speak. So that's great. That is fantastic. So now, what I consider like one of the biggest questions, completely straightforward too, is why do you recommend West Monroe as an employer for women? Like, what's your favorite thing about working at West Monroe? Carol?
Yeah, a big question for sure. So to kind of build off of what Mary said, I worked with a few others to kind of expand what we had as a women's group that was much more focused on just kind of social and networking, to being an ERG, which supports basically, you know, the growth, retention, and the recruitment, retention, and growth of women at West Monroe is what the Women's Leadership Network as an employee resource group is aimed at doing. And so, you know, I think that group has really grown significantly in the 7 years that I've been at West Monroe. And through that, and through kind of leading that organization for about 3 years of my time at West Monroe, I've really seen West Monroe kind of take on whatever issues people are finding. So whether that's the moms or parents at West Monroe group that Mary was mentioning, or other things. For example, when I was leading the organization, we really identified a need for additional mentorship opportunities for women. So we created a program that pairs women with a mentor within West Monroe, whether that be male or female mentor. We kind of take what they're looking for and hand pair people so that they can have another opportunity for mentorship and sponsorship within West Monroe that might be outside of their general circle that they might have exposure to. And, you know, several other just conversations with leadership and strategic initiatives that have been taken on throughout all areas of West Monroe that I think people are just, that I think the Women's Leadership Network kind of helps to elevate those things. But within West Monroe as a whole, I feel like our leadership team and kind of everyone that we work with is more than willing to hear out people for what they're looking for and what they need, and take steps to collaboratively help to solve some of those issues that people are facing within the workforce, whether it's personal or professional, kind of big or small. I feel like we're consistently trying to learn what those are and trying to take on steps to support them. And I feel like that collaborative environment is something that I really value, because, you know, no company is going to be perfect and, you know, having all of the answers or having everything solved. But I think what's important is having a culture and community that can hear out some of those concerns and take meaningful action to solve them, and then actually see those results, or at least see progress towards some of those challenges. I think that is definitely something I see at West Monroe, and I really, really appreciate.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for, again, such a thorough answer there. We really appreciate it. I wanted to kind of open the floor to the Q&A section. We do have a couple of questions in there, and whichever one of you ladies feel most comfortable answering, please, no hesitation there. So I wanted to start with an anonymous one. What advice do you have when there is a lack of trust? I wasn't hired by my boss, and there is a real lack of trust she has with me.
I can start with this one. So as a consultant, I've worked with many different types of managers, some that I loved working with, some that I did not love. And I think that the general knowledge that I gained from working with a variety of different managers is that, you know, having an open and honest conversation and trying to figure out what works best, what working style, what communication style, what works best for the both of you is a valuable conversation to have. I know that I've had managers where, you know, especially early on in my career, I really did not understand where they were coming from. And then, you know, I had a conversation where I just asked, what's your preferred communication style? What's, your preferred, honestly, everything. And from that conversation, I gained more insights into kind of what was going on in their mind, and what, I think Mary mentioned earlier, like there's always stuff that we don't know about that's going on in people's lives. So it kind of opens up the communication. So I would start with a simple conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and just to add on to that a little bit, I think one other thing that's worked well for me is just over communication and then trying to find a connection with that person. So I find that, if I'm working with someone new or where I don't think there's trust, I will over communicate, like as soon as I get online in the morning, like, this is what I'm working on today. Let me know if you need anything, and kind of check in throughout the day, just so that at all times they feel like they have access to you, can really help build a stronger connection in your relationship so that you understand where each other is coming from. So one tip there.
Thank you. Absolutely. Anyone else want to chime in? All right. So then the next question, this one also anonymous. I'm a very bold young woman who has a very strong speak up personality. Sometimes that has helped me, but I feel like in a male leading environment, I cannot be myself because I feel judged and toned down. What's your advice?
I really related to this question because I've 100% been there. I think I've worked with all males my entire career except maybe like one project. And it made me really sad because, you would think in 2021 we could be past this. But first off, I just kind of wanted to give you a virtual hug because I know how kind of debilitating that can feel when you do feel judged and you feel like you can't really bring your authentic self. But my advice really is to just keep moving forward and be yourself. I know that sounds corny, but the more you change yourself or tone down for others, the less kind of comfortable you'll be. And you don't want to be in a spot in a couple of years where you don't really recognize the person anymore. You want to make sure that you're being really true to yourself. And if you feel like your environment, you can't be that, then maybe it's not the right spot for you. So that was just kind of my 2 cents. And I know I've definitely been there. I don't really have all the perfect answers, but that's kind of what I think. I don't know if anyone else has anything to share.
I would maybe try to establish more one-on-one relationships with people that you work with rather than, big group events. And that way, if you, eventually have an individual relationship with everyone, perhaps the dynamics will begin to change.
For sure. I hope that was very helpful. Thank you, ladies. Next up, this question comes from Latoya Knowles. Being new to West Monroe, is there any kind of template to show areas of focus that should be covered for the 3-year letter?
Yeah, I can start. I mean, I think when I break down my three-year letter, I'm like a bullet points person, not like an actual letter to myself. But I think it's really important to put down personal as well as professional goals. Just kind of going back to those can be, just as motivating to have written down and in front of people, and can also help have a conversation, with your manager, for example, of like, yeah, I'm really trying to, start a family soon, or I'm really interested in, training for a particular marathon. That can help kind of start a conversation of maybe you need adjustments to your schedule or something like that. But outside of that, I think, I really like to break it down and what am I doing for my clients? What am I doing for my people? What am I doing kind of from a business development? And then how am I helping my practice? So I kind of break it down into those 4 components. And then kind of go from there in terms of just bulleting out, areas for growth or specific focus that I want to have, and really where I see my role changing over the course of the next 3 years.
Anyone want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I would just add, I know we have other people who aren't from West Monroe that are on this call. So just to expand on that a little bit, West Monroe has like a concept around, as Bethany was mentioning, kind of thinking about your career, but also your personal life in a 3-year time horizon, because sometimes 5 years out can just be a little bit too far in the future, and encourages you to work with your basically what they call a career board of advisors, which is really talking about just not just having like one person who can serve every mentorship or career development goal within your personal career path, but instead kind of treating yourself as the CEO of your career, and then designating a board of advisors that would help you in different certain circumstances. Like you might have certain advisors that would help you in more community-based situations, and others that might help you in more of your technical day-to-day job. And really kind of treating people as such, and just having a broad network of people who are important to you and kind of you go to for career advice. And one of those things that they recommend is to share that 3-year letter that you have with your career board of advisors. So if I can find the name of the book that I think is really valuable, that West Monroe uses to kind of explain those concepts, I'll put it in the chat. I was just searching my email to see if I could find it. But I think, just kind of getting some thoughts on paper about how you want to contribute to your community, how you want to contribute to your career, how you want to be rewarded for your career, and how you want to kind of show up in your relationships are some big categories that are part of that. And I've personally used that throughout my career to kind of shape some important conversations that can help me take a situation of, I want to do this because I want to, but really if it's part of my goals and really something that I'm working towards, can make some of those challenging conversations of, I want to get off this project, or I want to take on this new opportunity, as making them a little bit easier, because if it's aligned to your 3-year plan that you have for yourself and you've communicated that, then it's a little harder to say like, no, you really shouldn't take on that opportunity, or no, I don't think that's right for you. Not that I've ever really had that happen, but it can make some of those conversations a little easier.
Sure thing. Absolutely. So moving along, next question is, well, does West Monroe offer worldwide remote fully distributed positions?
Yeah, there are actually a couple questions in here around where we hire, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm 99% sure it's only within the United States. I know that there has been talks for several years now of kind of expanding that, but for now it's just the United States.
Okay, not a problem. I'll mark these as answered then. That kind of answers all of those.
However, actually, I'll expand on that a little bit.
Sure.
Just because it's changing in terms of, if you are in the United States and you're kind of associated to an office, we have 3 different options now that you can kind of qualify yourself as an employee. You can be a virtual employee, which is fully remote, no expectations of going into the office. You could be a remote employee, which is essentially 100 miles away from a specific office, and you have to show up maybe on a quarterly basis. Or you can be an employee within the 100 miles associated to a specific office, and you're not required right now, but in the future it sounds like maybe 1 to 2 times a week, and with the opportunity for discussions for different kind of flexible schedules. So obviously that's all changing given the circumstances, but I think it just kind of sets the right tone that West Monroe is willing to work with you based on your different specific situation, and they want to be accommodating to the changing environment. So hopefully that's some helpful information for everyone.
I would say so. Thank you very much, Mary. Next, what are the daily ways that you guys keep your teams on track with the mission and vision of the organization? Anybody want to jump in there?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Sure thing. What are the daily ways you keep your team on track with the mission and vision of the organization?
I mean, this might be a cop-out answer, but I think that the mission of West Monroe is very ingrained in everyone who works there's hearts and heads. So I don't feel like it's something that we constantly need to remind others of. But however, in recent times, we've been just incredibly busy as a firm. And of course, work-life balance has suffered in some capacity. And I think that West Monroe, the leadership has done a great job of making sure, for example, something small like making sure we take PTO and take a week off and take time to recharge, or, saying, hey, this isn't urgent, we can get back to the client on this tomorrow, or whatever the case may be. I think in recent times, there's been some like clear direction from leadership, which has been really appreciated.
Just something small that I typically do as a manager is, since we do change projects pretty frequently, I guess, depending on the client, you just meeting with your team one-on-one and talking to them about what are their goals for the year, what are their short-term goals for the project, making sure that aligns with what your expectations are, and obviously with the mission of growing the next generations of leaders at West Monroe, and just giving people the opportunity to grow in their careers. I think that's something key that I'm sure one of us does. It's kind of part of our whole process at West Monroe, but I think it makes an impact.
Yeah, I think along those lines, it is really ingrained, as Julie said, of like, our values are on the wall in all of our offices. They're the backgrounds of our computers, and you'll notice the terminology that's used is the same across all the West Monroe offices, as our broad organization, the mission. So understanding that, I think in conversations, you'll hear like, yep, this is my next generation of leaders thing that I'm doing, or people first is another one of our values. And people use those terms in conversations on purpose to kind of live out truly what we all know and love to be West Monroe.
Love it. Love it. Getting down to the bottoms of the questions here. Okay, so what advice do you have for a college student that's interviewing with companies as a junior this fall for summer 2022 internships?
I can start. Sorry.
There you go.
Okay, I do a lot of campus recruiting. I think one of the most important things is during the interview process to ask questions that you're curious about, but to be thoughtful. So make sure you're not just worried about like not getting the job because you asked a question. For example, one that oftentimes comes up is about the travel commitments. Mm-hmm. And I'll have candidates who literally will not say a word about it for the entire process, and then get to the end and be like, wait, I don't want a travel commitment. And, back in the day, that was something that would have been expected of the job. So it's good to kind of do your diligence, but just make sure that you're asking questions that are thoughtful.
I was going to talk about just practicing selling yourself. And I mean, obviously at West Monroe, but, making sure you apply to kind of how you did for colleges, apply to reach colleges that, you might not get, but really awesome if you did, and jobs that maybe you're more confident in. I think the more times you practice and selling yourselves and going through the application process, the better you'll get at it. And yeah, definitely how Julie was talking about, making sure you're doing your research of the company ahead of time and asking thoughtful questions and showing an interest in the job itself goes a long way.
Absolutely. 100% agree there. Last two here. So this is from Troy. I love the statement shared stating that at West Monroe, everyone owns their career path. What would be your advice to someone that has been an individual contributor for years and now wants to tap into a supervisor role?
I can start and just say, so building up your skills on kind of managing people and managing projects is definitely something you're looking to do, it sounds like. One thing that we do a lot of at West Monroe is provide people with internal positions to kind of build up their skills. So whether that might just be planning the next happy hour or a virtual social event for people, or maybe taking on another internal or kind of like side project to really show that you can lead and manage other people. It can be challenging to manage people who are doing a side project or something that's not their main priority. And so kind of getting some experience doing that type of thing, I think then that kind of speaks to, some experience that maybe, you're not immediately hired to that promotion quite yet, but showing that you're qualified by taking that on. The other thing is just, at West Monroe, we do a lot of like show you are capable of it before you get the official title change. So see what you can take on and kind of how you can influence others without that official title, so that by the time that you're interviewing for that position or getting that promotion, you're kind of already showing that you're fully qualified to do it. That's one
Yeah,
thing.
I mean, just asking for the opportunity, talking to, your manager or whoever it is, saying, my goal is this, so I want to do X, Y, Z, whatever it is. I mean, people will be very open to that, and, delegating their responsibilities to you. I'm sure most people wouldn't have a problem with that. So definitely speak up, don't be shy, and go after kind of what you want.
Absolutely. Okay, and then what's your biggest piece of advice for women wanting to work at West Monroe or going through the application process?
It's very general.
Yeah, right.
I would say, given how general the question is, just try to be your authentic self, because that's something that we do. We have interviews purposely designed to ensure that you would be a good values fit for West Monroe and things like that. So just be yourself, and of course, do research on the company as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think that speaks for everyone for sure. Okay, so that'll conclude the Q&A section as far as I see it. We did have one little lightning round question, similar but a little bit more in depth. What's one piece of advice you want to share with your younger self? And I'd like all four of you to answer.
Yeah, I can start. So I would say to remember at the end of the day that you got this, and embrace the challenges and the problems that come your way. It's never going to be smooth sailing all the time. So if you use it as an outlet to get creative and learn and think about it from that perspective, rather than maybe it's an issue where if you mess something up, rather than thinking about it as a negative, kind of flip it to a positive, and use your creativity to work your way through the challenges.
Love it.
I would say always leverage your network. So whether that's reaching out to an alum on LinkedIn or getting an introduction through a friend or whatever the case may be, it's great to just grow your sphere of people that you know. And always remember that everyone that you meet along the journey will be of use to you in some way. And so just keep that in mind as you follow along. And as a fun fact, I'm pretty sure I got the West Monroe job because I reached out to someone that went to Lehigh where I went. And then that person reached out to someone high up at the firm who went to Lehigh. And then that person ended up interviewing me and is someone I'm still close with today. So it definitely works.
They have perspective, kind of going off of Bethany's. Like, if I know a 6-month project might be awful and you hate your manager or whatever it is, or maybe you have a rude client or something, but just having perspective into kind of like your overall timeline of your life, and that it's a short stint, to make the best of it and just make sure that your priorities are true to yourself, and then that you stick to them.
Okay. We did get another question that came in. If you guys wanted to check this one out. I believe I'm the oldest, 42 years old, working on my MBA career change. What's your advice? Opportunities for seasoned individuals?
I'm happy to take this one. Yeah, definitely. West Monroe hires experienced individuals all the time. I know we have a ton of job postings online, so I would definitely encourage you to take a look or reach out to a recruiter, and they can kind of set you up with the right position to apply for. I know there's kind of a similar question on the chat, which I technically know is not allowed for Q&A, but it's around wondering, is it fair to say that for the right candidate, what used to be mandatory, like traveling, living within certain radius, is that negotiable and can it be made flexible? The answer is yes, definitely can be made flexible. Again, reaching out to recruiters and sharing what your story is and your background, and I'm sure they're willing to be accommodating indefinitely for the right candidate. So
very good, very good. I have one that I just kind of came up with myself as well. So here at Fairy Godboss specifically, we've seen that women they don't really feel comfortable enough sometimes bragging or taking ownership of all the amazing things that they've done. And well, I was just wondering, as far as you guys over at West Monroe, the four of you on the call, would you be willing to kind of brag a little bit to us for the end of this call about some of the accomplishments that you've pulled off, whether professionally or personally? Just kind of encourage us over here to, start to talk about, the good things we're doing.
It is really uncomfortable to brag about yourself. I'm not gonna lie. I think, for myself, I mentioned how I've been just kind of in a new role. And I think, I'm proud of myself for taking that on. And I feel like I've had some great results, and, the team overall we're meeting our goals. I think we have more goals to achieve, and I'm really excited to be part of it. But I feel like overall, getting to this level that I'm at and kind of having the experience that I have, I've been able to leverage a lot of that to, be successful in this acquisition that I've been working on. And so it's been great.
Excellent. Who else? Come on, give me some good stuff.
I can go next. Yeah, so I think about this a lot because I'm like a very, I would say, like humble person. And I think that stepping into it and thinking more of it, just having confidence, is a way to like spin it in my mind of, I'm like really confident in my role at West Monroe based on my experiences. I know that I'm, one of the most experienced resources that do the type of work that I do in the country. And so just owning that and kind of almost like sometimes when you're having a bad day, like pump yourself up a little bit and like, yeah, I'm the best in the biz. And remembering that. And I think too, like thinking about it, not only professionally, but personally. So during COVID, I decided to commit to the game of golf and learn it. And I just won the Women's Club Championship for so personally and professionally, go after it.
Yes. Let's go. Yes.
I love
Who's gonna
that.
follow that?
Yeah.
Follow that?
Well, my biggest brag is very easy, but it's really about just being a parent and being what's the word I'm looking for? Like a parent that's there all the time. I take my kids to school, I take them to swim class. I'm always there, and I always try to have fun and throw my phone out the window, after a certain time. And I think I'm really proud of myself for being, successful in my career and getting to where I am while also having 3 kids at a younger age than most people. So that's just something I've always been proud of myself for.
That is absolutely phenomenal, for sure. Absolutely. Last but not least.
Save the best for last. Just kidding. I would say that over the past year, I feel like I've transitioned from, being someone who was more in like the analyst type of role where I was supporting projects, and now I'm kind of helping to lead and help grow the next generation of leaders. And I've been very involved with helping to onboard some of our newer consultants and interns and things like that. So that's been a really great change for me over the past year or so.
And as you guys can see behind me, I don't mind bragging, so I don't have a problem with that at all. But I love hearing these stories from all 4 of you. Oh, would you look at that? We do have one more question since we have 4 minutes left. I think we can get it out. What do you recommend in the case of a person has not been given developmental opportunities to grow as a leader and assume more complex projects?
Yeah, I would say sometimes you might need to find a different outlet. I've seen that in the past where, you're going to one person and asking for different opportunities, and that just might not be the right person to talk to. So leveraging your network to kind of get the word out. I think the more you can have meaningful conversations about what you're looking for, ultimately people want to help other people. So as long as you can get the word out, I would try that and go a different route.
Absolutely. I was done to ask about the notes. That's funny. As a reminder. Okay. So just as a reminder, I think you guys can all see it in the chat, but I'll say it out loud as well. You will receive a copy of today's presentation in your email. And to learn more about career at West Monroe, there's going to be a link attached as well. And I just wanted to seriously just thank everyone who attended. And I wanted to thank Mary, Bethany, Carol, Julie, our Fantastic Four over at West Monroe. This was a phenomenal session. I learned a lot. I hope everyone listening learned a lot. If there's nothing else, I'll give you guys 3 minutes back and just say thank you so much. All righty.